Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to put a video together here that I wasn't planning on making, so I'm kind of making this off the cuff. But it actually kind of plays into a video idea that I had a few months ago, but wasn't able to do. So if you're a fan of any of the other YouTubers on here, I'm sure you know of RPB's Trains. And a few months ago, him and Sid's Trains got together and ran a bunch of their Hudsons on their layout. Now, if you're watching this at the end of May of 2025, that video of RPV's just came out, and he showcased his 700E, I believe it was from 1940 that he bought. So I have this 90s version from 1990. My father had bought it for me for Christmas. The 700E has been an engine I've always wanted in my collection. And my father bought this for me, and I got it for Christmas, and I was going to do this whole big video on it, and I came out here to the train room to film it, and it quit running. E-unit came on, smoke's working, the sound unit came on, it just wouldn't run. Could not figure it out. I have kept messing around with this thing on and off, and I'm not continuously out here every night working on it, but I have been out here working on this thing on and off for the past few weeks, trying to figure out why will this thing not run. And if you've ever had one of these apart, you'll know it's not real fun getting them apart and putting them back together too, with all the extra details and just the way they're put together. Not a fault of the model, just what it is. So I'm texting back and forth with my father trying to figure out why won't this thing run. And I said something to him. I cleaned the E-unit out. I said I've looked in here, made sure all the wires are connected. I've checked the plugs because this doesn't have an E-unit lever on it. It's got one of the plugs that goes right into the back of the motor. And I'm looking all over, and I'm sitting here running it. My dad, I turned the motor by hand while the power's on, and it sputters and it starts running. And I thought, okay, so it's not getting power back to the motor, and the motor's not turning. So then I'm thinking, it must be the brushes then. My father texted me back not 30 seconds later and said, make sure the brushes are touching the commentator. And when I took it and turned it on its side, I could see that one of the brushes was not touching. Put it back on the track, pushed the brush in, ran fine. So, of course, that tells me there's something wrong with either the springs and or the brushes. This model uses a 622 brush plate. I don't think the original one did not use that. It used something that was specific mainly to this model, to the 700E back in the 30s and 40s. But on this model, it uses a 622 brush plate. So I've got 622 brushes. I swapped them out. I cleaned the commentator off. I had all this apart. Thing runs like a charm now. I just wanted to say that because the brushes, and we'll take a look at them here in a minute, the brushes look totally fine. But if you're having an issue with something like this, check the brushes and or change them out. So let's take a look at the brushes real quick. So here are the brushes that were in that Hudson. If you're from the Northeast, you know exactly what this tray is, by the way. I save them every time I eat one of the little pies. But they're just 622 brushes. Yes, they're dirty, but lengthwise, they're the right length. I put them up against it. They're not really worn much. But just that little bit of dirt and a little bit of wear, the edge of this here is like a little razor blade. That was the side that was on the commentator. You can see how dirty it is. And that's all it was it just would not make good contact with that commentator. So even though it may look okay, it might be a little dirty. You could think, oh, I can just clean them off and they'll work. Most of the time that I've tried cleaning them off, they might work for a while, but they're gonna start acting up again. Brushes are pretty cheap. We sell them with the springs, we sell the 622 brushes for $2 a piece. They're just too cheap not to just throw these ones out, put new ones in it. Like I said, if you don't want to and you want to just clean them off and they work fine for you, great. You have at it, that's not a problem. I just don't see worth doing that myself. And especially with this thing of having the aggravation of taking it apart and putting it back together again. So, I never got to make the video on this engine and put it out when all the hype was going on about the Hudsons, but I'll do a little bit of a run here for it because I'm sure some folks would actually like to see it run. I don't have the coaches out that are right for it. I had the old Madison cars out, which are Williams reproductions of the heavyweight cars. But I packed them up, and I have these new cars out, which is another item that my wife and I just got not too long ago, which I'll probably do a video on at some point. But let's take a look at it running. So that's the story of why my Hudson wouldn't run. I have a little brother up there too, the flyer smoking the tender 322 from 1947. But yeah, that's it. Just I wanted to put this out there just in case somebody's running into some issues with a repair. They can't figure out why it won't run. Check your brushes. I've had that too. I had a customers in here not that long ago where it was a 681 turbine, and I'd worked. My dad had worked on the engine originally for him, and I ended up getting it, and because I've been doing some work on his layout, and he hadn't run it all that much, but he's run it enough, and so I was servicing it for him and everything, and the whistle on the tender just wouldn't work, and I kept messing with it, and I thought, well, the brushes aren't all that old. Change the brushes, thing worked like a charm. It's amazing what new brushes will do on these old open frame motors or Pullmore motors, whichever one you call them. But oh, look at all that smoke. I wonder where that's coming from. Oh, the old shed over there. It looks like the hobos took it over. I guess I'll have to send the railroad cop out there to get him out of there. We're going to set a fire there in the building. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. The video I was going to make on the Hudson, I was just going to tell the story of, why I've fallen in love with it. I think a lot of us fell in love with the 700E thanks to Tom McComas. He had such an influence on so many of us in this hobby now, whether we're young or old, and he always really pushed the mystique and the legacy and the legendary status of the 700E Hudsons. I always wanted one just for the historical significance. And yes, I would love to have an original one from the 30s or 40s, but I'm very, very happy with my 5340 from 1990. When I opened it up on Christmas morning, I actually was fighting back some tears. It was great to get this engine from my dad bought it for me, and it just meant so much. And it's a blast to run this and hear the rail sounds, which is so nostalgic with the old Tom McComas videos, and it's just a lot of fun. If tying back into Christmas, I'm a big fan of Gene Shepherd, and if that name's familiar, it's because Gene Shepherd wrote the book "In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash," which, if that sounds familiar, it's because that's the book that A Christmas Story was based off of. And of course, Gene Shepherd is the one who narrated the movie and everything. He was playing Ralphie as an older boy or older gentleman reminiscing on his Christmas. But at the end of the movie closes off with something, and I'm with a line. I'm going to paraphrase it, but Ralphie's laying there with his BB gun, and he says, "I laid there dreaming of shooting fantastic hip shots and whatever else." And he says, "But I lay there with the greatest gift that I'd ever received or would ever receive." And that's how I feel about this 700E. It means a lot that my dad got it for me, and I'll always remember that as long as I have this engine, which will be the rest of my life. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.